So to beat procrastination and that initial resistance, sleep, exercise, rest. Remember that part of being perfectionist? In the beginning when I tried to solve it, I just underscripted basically. At least I'll be happy with my day. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel, the best spot on YouTube for creative productivity and growth. So as a creator, I have so many things to juggle. And sometimes my week is just a very chaotic mess of trying to complete all my tasks. So in this video, I'm gonna give you my top 9 tips that I use to get things done as a creator while also having more fun. I'm gonna talk about 3 principles, 3 tactics, and 3 tools that I use on a daily basis to make sure that I'm getting the right things done and that I'm working as efficiently as I can. All right, let's get started. Let's start with the first principle, and that is good is better than perfect. Now, as a creator, I have this syndrome of being a little bit too perfectionist. So sometimes I'll spend way more time than needed working on scripting a specific video or recording or writing and rewriting an article until I think it just looks perfect. And so what that means is that I'll spend way more time than needed working on a specific piece of content just because I think that I can do a lot better than what the piece currently looks like. Now, here's the problem. I could have used all this extra time, that is basically my perfectionist tendency kicking in, working on the next piece. Because here's the reality, I never know how a certain piece is going to perform. And what ends up happening is that most of the times, a piece of content that I didn't think was so good will be the best one that I create that month. So more than the game of trying to get the piece just right, 100% perfect, I remind myself that the game is really hitting publish as soon as I think the piece is good enough. Now, this doesn't mean that I want to create subpar pieces of content. What that means is that I'm not going to spend the extra energy to get the piece right. So I like to assign a number to this, and I like to think of this as the 70% principle. If I did 70% of a work in a piece, all the extra work that I'm going to do are going to yield no results whatsoever. And what's more is that most of the time this is a you problem. Nobody's going to notice that the piece is not perfect because you are so close to the piece of content that you're creating. You don't have that vantage point of looking from the outside and seeing what the piece really looks like. So when someone is watching your video or reading your article, they're doing so for the first time. They haven't had contact with this piece whatsoever in the past. And so most of the times this won't be noticeable. So when I'm doing all the extra work, I stop and think, is this a me problem? Am I already at 70%? Is this good enough to be published? And if it falls under these criteria, I know that I shouldn't spend extra time working on it because let's face it, that would be just wasting time. Time, again, that I could be using on the next piece of content.
Not good enough.
Not good enough!
The second principle is to optimize yourself. Now, as a creator, most of the times you're a one-man job. And even when you have a team, it's always going to be you on camera. You're always going to be the voice of your business. And that means a lot of hours for you recording, writing, and publishing. And because of this, you'll be constantly creating content. And that can lead to burnout very quickly. So instead, you want to try to pace yourself. Because when you look at productivity, at its core, it boils down to sleep plus exercise plus rest. So the way that I approach this is I track my sleep with a sleeping app, for example, every night so that I can see the quality of my sleep. I also make sure that I get at least 8 hours of sleep per day, and I try to get up at the same time every single day. So for example, if for a certain day I'm a little bit more tired, I'll just go to bed a little bit earlier. So make sure that you're having enough sleep and quality sleep so that you feel well rested during your days. Then we have the exercise part. You know that exercise has so many benefits. And so to get those benefits, I try to make exercise a priority. And the way that I do that is that I block half an hour at the end of my workday to do some kind of exercise. Now, in these times of lockdown, I normally do something from home or I just go for a run. And the reality is, to get the benefits, you don't really need a lot of time doing exercise. Half an hour per day is more than enough to reap those benefits. So make sure that you block time in your calendar to exercise every single day. And then we finally have rest, which is taking breaks throughout the day. Again, you want to try to pace yourself throughout your day. So the way that I do this is I take 2 major breaks in my day. The first one is lunch. I take 2 hours to lunch. Now, obviously, some people might only be able to take 1 hour for lunch. But because I work from home, I'm my own boss, I run my own business, I like to extend that to 2 hours because I discover that's the amount of time that I need to kind of switch off a little bit during the day and become a lot more rested so that I can work better in the afternoon. And because I take a longer lunch break, that really splits my days into 2 blocks, the morning block and then the afternoon block. And so mostly in the morning, I'll do creative stuff, mostly creative writing, and then in the afternoon, I do a little bit of managing. And that is called the Maker versus Manager Schedule, an idea by Paul Graham. Now, most of the days, I also like to record in the evening. And so what I'll do is I'll take a shorter break just after doing exercise and then come back and record at least 1 video. As for breaks throughout the day, I like to take 10-15 minutes, have a cup of coffee, go to the balcony, and just not think about work for a few minutes. So for me, that means like 2 breaks in the morning and 2 breaks in the afternoon. So make sure that you're taking enough breaks throughout your day so that you can feel rested, switch off for a little bit before immediately jumping onto the next task.
To rest is to rest.
Alright, so principle number 3 is being systems oriented. So here's what I think of this. So goals are very important to have. They give you direction of something that you're trying to accomplish. But normally the goals that we set out to achieve are outside our control. So for example, let's say that I set the goal of growing my YouTube channel to 100,000 subscribers. Now that is giving me kind of a direction, but that doesn't help me in the day-to-day of what I need to do. So what I like to pair goals with is being systems oriented. So the way to get more subscribers or more people to watch my videos is to make better videos. And not only that, but making sure that I'm releasing quality videos every single week. So now I have a system behind that goal. And that system is basically what I need to do to create each video. So if you think of a process of creating new videos, that will be ideas, scripting, recording, editing, and then publishing that video. So we got 5 steps, and just like a factory that has inputs and then goes through machines and finally churns out outputs, creating videos follows the same idea. And you can apply the same idea to anything. Now that I have a system, I can focus on improving that system, and hopefully by improving that system, that will improve my chances of reaching my goal. So instead of sitting down and trying to record as many videos as you can, now you have a higher level of understanding, and I'm trying to work a little bit smarter. So now I look at my system and I ask myself, what is the weakest part of my system? What is the slowest part of this process? Now that is what it's called in business a bottleneck. So you want to try to find your bottleneck and then only try to solve that bottleneck, because the bottleneck is the constraint of your system. So your system only goes as fast as the bottleneck. Now this is a little bit abstract, so let me give you an example. When I started recording my YouTube videos, my bottleneck was editing my videos. I was spending about 70% of my time editing videos. Now why is that? It was because I was very slow and I didn't have a lot of skill. And because the output, which for me was releasing new videos, is constrained by the speed of that bottleneck, I wanted to solve this part. So I hired an editor that does all the editing for my videos. And if that wasn't possible, I'll probably try to level up my skills and become a lot faster in editing. Maybe I could use templates or learn a lot more keyboard shortcuts so that I didn't need to use my mouse as much. When I solved that bottleneck, which was the editing part, the bottleneck now changed, because now I'm spending 0 time on editing. The more videos I can get to that part of the process, the more videos I eventually will publish. So now my new bottleneck was scripting. In the beginning, I was scripting word for word all my videos. So when I recorded, that was a little bit easier, but the scripting part took a lot of time because I wanted to get the script just right. Remember that part of being perfectionist and trying to write the perfect video. So that was the first problem. It was taking so much time. And the second problem was I didn't sound that natural when I was on camera, because I was just reading from a teleprompter. The way that we write is normally not the way that we speak. And so the way that I solved this was I tried to script my videos a little bit less, practice a little bit more how I spoke on camera, and try to get the balance just right on the amount of scripting that I needed to deliver good videos. Now this process took a while to figure out how much scripting I need. In the beginning when I tried to solve it, I just underscripted basically, and that was a little bit hard when I was recording, but now I think I've got a good balance. If you want to learn more about how I adapted my scripting to learn how I recorded my videos faster, please drop a comment below and I'll make sure that video is prioritized. So again, break it down into system, look at the bottleneck, and then try to solve the bottleneck. Once you've solved it, it's no longer a bottleneck, go into the next one. And when you continue to do this, hopefully you'll get better at the entire system, and hopefully that will also help you reach your goals faster.
That's your system?
That's my system.
Alright, let's go into the tactics, and the first one is the daily highlight. Now the daily highlight is a concept that I read in this book called Make Time, which is a fantastic productivity book if you want to pick it up. And the idea here is that every single day you're going to pick one thing that you absolutely must get done. That is your daily highlight. Now obviously this is not the only thing that you're going to do that day, but it is the one thing that you must get done that day. And for me, most of the times that will be recording a video. And the idea is if I don't do anything else, if I just do my daily highlight, at least I'll be happy with my day. Of course, I could have got a lot more things done, but I'm happy with just getting that one thing, the most important thing done. And to make sure that I have enough time to work on my daily highlight, I block time in my calendar on the time of the day that I have the most energy to complete that task. So when I'm doing my weekly review on a Friday, I'll think, what is the daily highlight that I'm going to have every single day of next week? After I decide what that is, I'll block time on my calendar on the time that I know I'm going to be the most productive for that specific task. And then when Monday rolls in and I need to complete that task, I make sure that I protect that time and I have no distractions around me. So now as I'm recording, there's nothing on my screen here, there's no phone next to me, there's nothing to distract me for the next hour. So for me, it's not a matter of trying to remove distractions at all times. Obviously, you're going to be distracted from time to time, but when you're doing the most important thing, when you're completing your daily highlight, you want to make sure that you're not distracted. If it's something that I need to do on my computer instead, I like to use an app called Stay Focused. I'm going to talk about 3 other apps. This is just an extra one. And they have this option called Nuclear, which blocks anything that you want and really lets you access those websites for a certain period of time, which you can decide what amount of time that is.
Locked up.
The second tactic that I use a lot is to have an end time. Now, why is it so important to have an end time for your workday? Here, I'm trying to leverage the idea of Parkinsons Law. So Parkinsons Law states that work expands as the time available for its completion. And so by having an end time, I'm forcing myself to work a little bit faster because I know I have a certain end time, and that for me is normally exercising. I'm now forced to work faster. There's no time to procrastinate. So if I can, to take more advantage of this tactic is I'll try to make plans with friends. Now, obviously in lockdown, this is a little bit harder, but otherwise I just try to make plans with friends, either to watch a game, to have dinner, or maybe do some sports. Because now I have someone waiting for me that really puts this tactic on steroids. But even with this, sometimes I'll procrastinate a little bit, and what I like to do on those times is the idea of atomic steps. Now, throughout your days, there's going to be a period that you're going to procrastinate a little bit. It's just human nature not to want to start a task and procrastinate doing other things that maybe they're a little bit more fun. But procrastination is just really that initial resistance of sitting down and doing the work, sitting down at your computer and writing something. So to beat procrastination and that initial resistance, what I do is I schedule a timer for 2 minutes on my phone and just start doing something that is going to move me in the general direction of the task that I want. So let me give you an example. Sometimes I don't feel like recording. I'll procrastinate a little bit. So I'll set a timer, and for 2 minutes, I'm just concerned with setting up the entire studio so that I'm ready to record. For those 2 minutes, I'm concerned with putting the lights, putting the microphone, setting up the camera on a nice shot, putting my notes next to me, and overall just making sure that when I sit down, everything is ready for me to record. Now, that task of setting up the entire studio is not very hard. Recording a video is, but not setting up the studio. But now I'm setting up for success and to stop procrastinating because I've got everything set up. All I have to do is sit down, press record, and just go. I do the same when I'm writing. So if I'm procrastinating on writing an article, I'll just sit down and write the introduction. Or maybe I'll even write the part that I'm most excited about. Or I'll just start by doing a little bit of research or reviewing the research that I've done before. The idea is just do something that moves you in the general direction. Put a timer, 2 minutes, do the easiest task, the beginning of your task, to remove the friction of getting started. All right, let's move on to the tools. Let's move to the computer. And let's talk about the first tool, which is Notion. So Notion is pretty much where I plan my entire business. So let's open it up to see what's going on here. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the projects, areas, resources, and archive that you see here on the left. Now, this is following the PARA system. I have a video where I talk at length about the PARA system, but basically it's about projects, areas, resources, and archive. So here, the first one, the projects, this is everything that I want to achieve this quarter. So I have all my projects organized, and then also the owner of that project, either me or someone from my team. And then finally, the deadline that I want to get that project out of the way. Then we have the areas. Let me just open the drop down here. And the first thing that you see is the videos home base. This is where I plan all my videos. And you'll see that the system that I use here, the Kanban board, is mimicking the YouTube process that I was talking about earlier. So we have ideas, script, then if I didn't write that one, I'll need to review it, then ready to film. So that's the video that I'm recording right now. Edit, then review, edit, because my editor is going to send the video to me, so I got to make sure everything's fine. Then the ones that are ready to be published, and then the published ones. And then if you open this, there'll be all the details about this specific script. So for example, if I scroll down a little bit here, you'll see my notes for this video. Now I'm talking about Notion, so planning your work, content mapping, and the PARA system. I already talked about these 3 things. Then I also have in areas ConvertKit, which is my email manager. If you want to be a VIP and subscribe to my newsletter, there's a link in the description. Every Monday you get a 5 bullet Monday with the 5 cool things that I found that week. And also everything that I published on YouTube and on my blog. Finally, we have the article content calendar. We also have the book summaries, the social media clips that I published on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. You might see some of those. And then finally, you have the courses and the products. And then I have the resources, everything that doesn't fall into the projects or areas. So let's open that. For example, here, all the courses that I took and all the notes that I took from the courses. And then finally, we have the archive, basically anything that I have completed and didn't move to either areas or resources. And the magical thing about Notion is because I have my team here, I'm able to collaborate on a lot of stuff. So for example, if I go to the videos home base and I open this one, which is the PARA system, which I'm about to publish today, you'll see here that my editor notified me that this is ready to review. Then I reviewed it, and then he came back actually today at 1:12 p.m. and said this video is ready to publish. And so we can collaborate not only on videos, on courses, on projects that we are doing. Very easy to collaborate together. And so this whole system is how I plan my business, and I'm able to manage my team efficiently while still having time to get things done myself as a creator. Then the second tool that I use extensively to get things done is, surprise, surprise, the calendar. Now I actually use 2 different apps. On my phone, I use Fantastical, which is a freemium app. And I'm a free user of Fantastical because right now I don't need all the bells and whistles of the premium version. But because I think one of their pro features is that you can have multiple devices. On my computer, I actually just use the calendar app. And this is where I'm scheduling all my work using time blocks to make sure that I stay on top of everything. So it really doesn't matter the app that you use as a calendar. Maybe you prefer to use the pro version of Fantastic. Maybe you just want the free version, or maybe the calendar app from Mac, or even prefer Google Calendar. What matters is that you use a calendar to time block your tasks to make sure that you block the time in your day to actually do those tasks. And ideally, you want to have your calendar not only on your computer, but also on your phone. Because for example, if I'm out of the house and something comes to my mind that I need to do in the future, it's very easy to just get my phone and write something on my calendar. Again, I use Fantastical, and then it's going to sync with my calendar app on the MacBook. And finally, the third tool that I use extensively to get things done, and probably my favorite app of all time, is Roam. So let's open Roam here. So as a creator, one of my main jobs is coming up with ideas, and not only coming up with ideas, but also connecting ideas from other sources from the content that I am consuming. And what that means is that Rome acts as my Zettelkasten, or if you prefer, as a second brain. And what that means is that everything that I consume, either articles, podcasts, courses, books that I read on my Kindle, and all the other things that I consume, eventually are going to make its way into Rome. And I already have a video up on how I take notes from podcasts. So for example, here we have the notes from a podcast that I listened a while ago from the Tim Ferriss Show with Jerry Seinfeld. And so these are all my notes, and in the future, I can take them and reuse them in a way that are meaningful to me. For example, at some point, I may create a video on my writing process. And it was a lot of fun to learn how Jerry Seinfeld approaches writing. And so I'm going to try myself a couple of things that he talked about on his system about writing, and then maybe that turns into an idea that I can use for a video or even for an article. And what this means is that every time that I need to script or write an article, I never start from a blank page. Yes, I do have an idea on my mind, but then I can use all these sources that I've been consuming and I've been taking notes from to complement and to enrich that idea. And hopefully that's going to help me to create better content for you guys. So I have this project for the longest of time to talk about my entire note-taking system, and also I might publish some of these videos on YouTube. So if that's something you'd be interested in, that you'd be able to see my note-taking system to watch those videos, please leave a comment in the description below and I'll make sure to prioritize that video. And it would be especially helpful if you could tell me your main struggles with note-taking, if you have a current system, and just in general your comments about using a Zettelkasten. The other thing that I also use Rome for are my weekly reviews. So every Friday I'll open Rome, and using the system of plus, minus, and next, I'm able to very quickly do my weekly review and see everything that I have achieved on that week, and also plan the upcoming week and then translate that into time blocks on my calendar. So that's how this entire ecosystem of apps come together to help me get more things done while also having more fun. So those are my 9 top productivity tips that I use to get things done as a creator and in general having more fun in my days. It's really about using the right principles, tactics, and tools to make sure that I'm managing my time and being efficient in getting things done. If you want to know more about how I manage my time effectively, boy oh boy do I have the video for you. All you have to do is click here to go watch my video on my top 9 time management tips to manage my time better as a creator, to make sure that I stay on top of everything and also organize my days a lot better. So fellow creator, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.